Hi, everyone, and welcome to this embodiment call. We are doing calls every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Miami, and they are sponsored by Unlock Your Design and by Purium. If you're interested in Purium and a transformation journey, you can contact me. We're not necessarily going to bring it into this call. However, it's what's making this possible. I also have started to have guests. So last week we were having Ryan about embodied presence. That video is available on YouTube if you missed it. Usually the replays only go into the inner circle. And I think this time too, me and Gabby will make the video available if you want to share it with somebody or if you want to rewatch it. So Gabrielle was with us for 10 weeks in the immersion that we did before the Venus or whole immersion we're in right now. It was the immersion we called Found. That is the activation sequence combined with, we could say, the body work or the body work, or not only body work, I would say the whole ideology, Gabrielle, that you work with, and that I also have been working with, not with people necessarily, but in my own transformation process for the last 5-6 years. And I also just wanted to mention that you're a 5-1 on the Cross of Refinement. The Cross of Refinement, the way you have it, is the 33, the 19, the 1, and the 2, I guess, or the 2 and the 1. I don't remember which order. So it's all about being a 5-1, finding solutions, refining. And I would like to give over the word to you to speak a little bit more about, this process of refinement and who you are, before we go into the call today, where we are going to have a few practical things and also just us sharing and being here together in a quite informal way. So, Gabby, over to you.
Hi, Bella. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. So what's the question?
Well, I guess the question is this. Like I said, you are on the Cross of Refinement, and you did start with a modality that I don't even know how much you knew about 10 years ago. And what's been the journey, and also, how did we work together? Like, why is what we are doing going together? Like, kind of, coming in however you want to come in, but it's like allowing you to come in the way you want to.
Okay, great. All right, where do we begin? I think I'll begin with being the physical type. And one of the, reasons why I'm on the call today is to talk about the body and embodiment. And there's 4 main bodies: the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Those are the 4 main ones. And we're all designed in a unique way, and we all come into the world with, I would say, a genius in one of those areas. So my genius was in the physical. So I kind of came out, I like to say, I came out running out the womb, and I really never stopped. I don't think I missed one day of movement or exercise or a sport or a dance class or anything. And it was very natural and very easy for me. When I was 13, I remember that's when my body started to change. And I really didn't have the tools to express emotionally what was going on for me. So when I look back at it in retrospect, I found myself coming home from school, ripping my pants off, throwing on a sports bra and some sneakers and running on the treadmill. Nobody else I knew was doing that. They were either going home and doing their homework or going home and, playing with their friends or whatever it was that they were doing after school. Yet I was coming home and, this was my routine. And by the time I was in, I want to say 8th grade, I was on the cheerleading team. And after like 2 weeks, I was like, I can't do this. This is not for me. And I remember I went to the guidance counselor, and they were like, look, we already started the semester. Your choice is you can go to the weight room. And I was like, weight room? And they were like, yeah, my school, so the middle school I went to was also connected to the high school. So the weight room was basically filled with high school boys. So that was easy for me. I was like, okay, I'm in. And when I got there, there was a trainer who oversaw the gym and who was walking around, and he made sure that everyone knew what they were doing. So he would teach me something new every single day. And by the time I was in a few weeks, I was already, full body training, and now I was adding this to my running. And I say this because I think it's important to note again and go back to, I really didn't have another way of expressing myself. It was only through the physical body. So by the time I got out of college and graduated, there was another instance where my dad just, he gave me my phone bill and he said, pay it. And I said, pay it? I just graduated 2 weeks ago. Okay. And I went over to the local gym and I had my personal training license. I had gotten it somewhere along the lines in there, knowing that probably one day I would use it. And that was 2 weeks after I graduated, and I became a personal trainer. My brother was a mixed martial artist since the time, I don't know, he was like 3 years old. So he was teaching at the local dojo. So I was going there at night. And then I also got into yoga. So I was a personal trainer, yoga instructor, a boxing coach. And again, really expressing myself through the body. Yet what was going on behind closed doors was I was struggling with anxiety and depression, and again, no way of verbalizing it. So I had I turned to marijuana and any type of cigarettes, and that's kind of what I did alongside of all this fitness work. So really also want to point out that while I was fit and while I looked really fit, I was really unhealthy. So fitness and health doesn't make a match all the time, if that makes sense. You're not already mirroring. And by being in the personal training industry, I actually saw that a lot of the trainers and a lot of the people that I was working with, we were actually really unhealthy, yet we were really unfit. And what was going on behind closed doors was something completely different. So fast forward to about 10 years in the training industry, I was overtraining, undereating, over exercise, everything. I was overindulging in everything. And my anxiety and my depression had hit a all-time high. And I knew I needed to do something different. I had this very interesting moment when I was living in New York City, where I was walking past my bathroom and I caught my eyes in the mirror. And I walked directly to the mirror and I looked at myself, and I would say, this is where spirit came in for the first time and kind of sat me down and said, you need to do everything opposite than the way you're doing it. I was like, okay, I hear you. You don't look good. Something's got to change. So that was the first moment that I was like, I would say, put in my place. I was put in my seat. Everything you're doing, you have to do opposite. Yet when the train is going really, really fast, you're not going to jump off the train, right? You're going to slow it down. So it took about 2.5 years of me watching myself indulge in this behavior that I didn't want to indulge in, yet I didn't have a way out of it. And the train was going so fast for me to actually run into true body intelligence, which is the work that I've been bringing into to found and to this community. So true body intelligence is a body of work that is flawless, and it covers the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual worlds. So again, what I was saying was, we come into the world, right, with our genius, and mine happened to be physical, yet I only started to get in touch with my emotions and what was actually going on in my mind when I entered this work. And so once I found this work, I want to say again, I hit the ground running with this. I was like, I need to know everything you know, because the physical type is intuitive. And so even though I didn't have the understanding in my brain, my body knew that this was the way. During the 2.5 years between the moment that I caught myself in the mirror and before I found this work, my friend was sending me numbers to doctors and all different types of, therapies. And I was like, that is not my route right now. I don't know what is, but I just know that it's not. And then when I had my first session with True Body Intelligence, I stood up and I looked at my mentor and I said, I need to know everything you know. And it's been 10 years and I dove in deep. So I would say I've had a nice collection. I've had a decade of being in the fitness and the training world. And I would say feeling like I made it to the top of that world, if you want to say. I felt like I kind of made my way through all the different training styles that you could have. And then really went into the health and the healing world. And so I've had 10 years in one and 10 years in the other. And so I've had 10 years of being an addict and 10 years sober. And so I have a very clear, distinct idea of what's going on in the bodies, the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual. And so now I'm at a place where I can combine all of them. And when we talk about embodiment, we're talking about jumping into the body that you have yet to work with. And what I mean by that is some of us have gone physical and emotional. Maybe some of us have gone physical and spiritual. Maybe some of us have gone mental and emotional and have completely left out the physical body. And that's kind of where I would say I come in, because again, that's my genius, which is most people who come to me, they're ready to get physical. And what I mean by that is take a look underneath the hood of what's actually going on in their tissues, their bones, their muscles, their joints, the meridian channels, like what is going on underneath there, to bring your body into a favorable position to actually heal itself, to communicate to itself, and to communicate in a way that you can actually fire on all cylinders, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna pause there and see where we're at with you, Bella.
Yeah, I have two things. And the first one is, of course, like I want to speak today also where we can start if we don't have a Gabby in our life. But I think before that, an important thing is the way that I see it and always say is that when we change something in the physical, which is the densest, it's going to impact all the other layers. And, it seems like in your case, you came in through the physical and that's been your progression. So I want to bring it back to embodiment and why to start in the body and how you have seen that. And also where can we start? There are of course, we're going probably to run Found Again with you. And there are other things actually working directly with you. But for this call today, where can we start? How can we get out of here in 40 minutes with something that actually is going to start those small shifts that are important as we want to live a life in wholesomeness with the body, the physical body, the emotional body, the spiritual body, the mental body.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So where to begin? All right. Well, let me tune in, and I'm going to tune in. And while I tune in, you're all going to tune in with me. So I'm going to ask if you guys are coming to this call and willing to play full out, that you find just a comfortable position for yourself and close your eyes. And just sit up nice and tall. And if you have access to place your feet flat down on the floor, go ahead and place the feet on the floor. Sit up nice and tall. Roll your shoulders up, down, and back a few times, and just feel into any places or spaces that just need to shake it out or wiggle it out. And while you're doing that, find your breath. So begin to inhale and exhale. And find some stillness. And bring all your attention and your awareness to the breath. Inhale through your nose and exhale out your nose or your mouth, your choice. And the first few minutes here, or the first few moments, are really dedicated to the breath, to grounding, to bringing in our life force energy, which is the breath. You may notice that your breath is short and shallow. Let's use the next few moments to take the breath from short and rapid to long and deep. From non-existent to existent. From involuntary to voluntary. Use your breath to tune in and scan your body and feel into any places or spaces that feel like they can use some love and attention. Feel into any places that feel tight or tense. Maybe it's that your mind is just running rather fast and the thoughts are moving quite quickly. And you're using your breath to just slow it down, not to shut it off, but to slow things down. And not just to slow things down, but to really become aware of what is actually going on with you and for you. What do you smell? What do you taste? What are you feeling? What are you thinking? What is going on for you right now? Continue to breathe. And in the next few moments, we're going to move into an attunement. And even the finest instruments tune up before they play. Think of yourself as an instrument. And we're going to tune you up through this verbal process. And all I ask is that you breathe and repeat after me. It's short and sweet, yet it's potent and effective. So go ahead, take a nice deep breath in through the nose. Exhale and empty. 2 more times. We inhale through the nose. Exhale and empty. And then 1 more time, full breath in. And full breath out. And then repeat after me. Physical body, brain, nervous system. Attune yourself to that which I am uniquely. As love, as light, as vibration, as consciousness, as a soul, as source, as a prime creative force. And so it is, forevermore. Amen. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, let it go. Take the next few moments to allow your body to tune up to its highest frequency. And then from this place in space, we can then decide and choose where we go and what happens next. And so let's slowly come to stand. And don't worry about what you look like, what you're feeling like, any of those things. Put it aside. And just find your feet flat down on the floor. Take your feet rather wide so you have a wide base of support. And then from here, close your eyes and just rise up onto your toes and then drop down so your heels can hit the floor. And then again, you're going to rise up and then heels drop the floor. And then it's going to become a little bit more, add a little bit of speed. So you're not necessarily just pounding on the floor. It's more up, down, up, down, up, down. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. So as the speed goes up, so does your breath. And just allow the vibration of the floor and the earth to enter into your body through the soles of your feet. You may even hear the sound and feel the vibration. And then come to a pause and a stop. And that may even feel somewhat awkward at the moment. And then just start to shake your body. So you have a soft bend in the knees and you're just shaking. So think of yourself almost like a noodle and you're starting to soften your body. Continue to bring your breath into this space. And soften your shoulders. Allow them to move with you. So this is what we call shaking or shocking. And it's the king of medicine. And it's just about allowing your body to shake out of rhythm. So there's no rhythm here. Right now, we don't even have music, right? So you are just going to start to move your body, move your hips, and continue with that vibration and that shake, right? Bring it into your movement. And you may look and feel a little silly, and that's okay. You can even close your eyes. If you need to, you can open up your eyes at any point and you can just see and feel into what I'm doing, and then just make it your own. Start to shake your legs, kick your legs, shake your hands, Just move around in a way that looks like a 5-year-old dancing on the dance floor. Okay, so it's really out of rhythm, really out of sync. You're really not here to look cool right now. Let's take another 30 seconds to a minute. So really give it your all, close your eyes. Just allow everybody to be in their own space without feeling like anyone's looking at them. Again, kicking the legs, shaking the hands, softening your belly, soft knees. You can hear it in my breath that I'm a little out of breath from this, right? And then slowly, actually, I'm going to ask you then to just halt and pause. Continue to close your eyes. And back to your breath. See what you notice. Can you feel the vibration? Any soft sensations? Maybe you can feel some pulsing in the palms of your hands. Or maybe you can hear and feel your heart beat and pound. Fill yourself up with some more and deeper breaths. And then slowly open up your eyes and come back into this space. And sometimes from here, I'm like, okay, I'm awake now. Where should I go? What should I do from here, from this place? Other times this has just gotten my engine started. So think you're like a car, right? We're starting the car before we drive. And then a lot of times right from here, I want to get more into my lungs, which means I'm going into somewhat of a push-up position. So any of you who want to enter into the next exercise, let's just take another minute or two here, and then I'm going to give the floor back over to Bella. We're going to go into a push-up position. And a push-up position can be done on your knees. You can even use the wall, okay? So you can even use a table, a high table, okay? So I want you to just place your hands on either the wall, the floor, and I want you to start to just do push-ups how you know how to do them, okay? So let's take the next minute to place the hands in a position. And you're going to inhale down and exhale up. And you're going to inhale down and exhale up. And I'll bring my computer down, right? You'll see I don't even have a mat. I don't care about a mat. I'm just getting down and dirty. Knees are on the floor, toes are up. I inhale and I exhale. And I inhale and I exhale. Inhale and exhale. And then once I have a few underneath my belt, then I slowly begin to slow it down. I go down nice and slow. Inhale and exhale, and inhale and exhale, and inhale and exhale, and then I exhale to the top. And then I inhale and I exhale, and I inhale and I exhale, and I inhale and I exhale, and I exhale to the top. And when you need to break, take a break. And then when you're ready, you'll go back in. So continue. I'm going to now do it on the higher thing for anyone who is up here. And I'm going to inhale down, exhale up. Inhale down, exhale up. And you keep breathing. You have 30 more seconds here. So if you stopped, get back in it. If you need to pause, pause. We're all going to end together in 20 seconds, right? You're gathering all this breath, all this chi, all this blood, all this circulation. You're putting on your backpack, your oxygen tank for the day. You got 5 more seconds. You got 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly make your way back to stand. And shake it out. And then just go back to that position that we began in, with the feet a little wider than shoulder width, a little softer of a bounce. Draw your shoulders up, down and back. Slow everything down. Inhale and exhale. And inhale and exhale. Let's bring the arms up and around and down. A few more. Inhale. Big exhale. And you can see every movement I have is paired to a breath, right? Inhale and exhale. Let's go 2 more. Inhale. Exhale. One more time. Inhale. Exhale. Take your hands to your heart, hand to the belly. Full breath in. Big exhale. Palms of the hands come together, rub them together, create some heat, some life, some friction, some force. And then pause in place. Bring your feet together this time, zip the legs, squeeze the thighs, draw your shoulders up, down, and back. Everything is coming back in toward the midline of the body. Take a full breath in. Full breath out. And then repeat after me. We're going to go a little quicker this time. Body, brain, nervous system. Attune yourself to that which I am uniquely. As love, as light, as vibration, as consciousness, as a soul, as source, as a prime creative force. And so it is, forevermore. Amen. Seal your practice in with a full breath in. Exhale, empty, let it go. And just trust the process that you have just tuned your instrument to a higher frequency than when we began. And then we'll come back to our seats if you feel called to, and let's check back in with Bella.
Thank you, Gabby. That was definitely really nice. And I feel more alive, and I appreciate the breath and the movement that's not monotonous movement, the same pattern, but really allowing the shaking and the moving and the stretching and the opening and the centering. So beautiful. Thank you. And also thank you for actually, inviting us to do something like push-ups that most of us are like, oh no, that's the last thing I'm going to do. And you made it, with options and in a way so that we all actually could do it in our own way. So thank you. And I feel like this is taking us into, this call is about embodiment. So how much more do you feel in your body now as opposed to not even 30 minutes ago? So I would like to open the floor as well for sharings, for questions, for what's alive in the space. And yeah, Gabby, you're of course also welcome to come in if you want to add something to what I just said, but it's open for anyone to unmic and speak. Well, Gabby, I can tell you Daniel is Kundalini yoga, so very much also into the body and the energy, the life force of the body. And when you said, the breath is the life force, it was interesting because there's a part of me that was looking at the geometry in the body. And I was like, well, the breath is moving the life force. It's interesting to think of the breath as life force. And you know how I am. I'm not fixed in my way. I can see them in different ways. I'm like, yeah, I can say it's the life force. I could also say it's the mover of life force and Kundalini and all that. So
and back to the breath, it's, you know, you've been through the work, not just, you know, from afar, but you've also been through the work in person. You've had it done in person, and you know that if you're not breathing, we get off of you, and you say, if you don't have the breath, we can't get back on you, right? So embodiment is layered, right? And when we talk about the body, even when I work on the physical body with my hands, my feet, and my elbows, when the person stops breathing, that's when I stop. My hands, my feet come off. We have a conversation. Hey, I need you to come back into your breath. If the person, I get on them and they're breathing very shallow, but the pain is super high, again, I get off. I say, hey, I need you to match your breath to the level of sensation. Otherwise, we're creating more tension in your body. So you always want to meet the person where they're at, right? So the breath and the body, they go together. The breath, actually, the emotion lives in the breath. So that's the other thing. Yes, I can work on your physical body, yet will it soften without the breath? Most likely not. Are you going to release the emotion that's keeping the physical body in these fixed and stuck positions? No.
I would say something, Nicole, about your question in the chat. Could you explain more about the breath to sensation level? So, you know, we are, when we look in the Gene Keys, for example, at the emotional sphere, which is where we are actually in the whole immersion right now, and we see that the foundation level there is about repression. It's repressing emotion, and we don't show. And there are even many shares today in the call I was in right before where we didn't have that safety as adolescents. And it's also going back to Gabrielle's story, that where we couldn't share what was going on. And then what a lot of the work in True Body Intelligence kind of starts with, that you go through an exercise, you could say, that is quite challenging, both physically and emotionally. And many people, instead of expressing with breath or even with words what they feel, they brace. And I think that was both for Gabrielle and for me. What we did is like, okay, I'm going to go through this. I'm going to get through this. And then you can see how, in a way, unsincere, like not sincere you are when it comes to actually expressing in the world to the level. And here I really think it's important to say, yes, level of sensation, which means both pain and pleasure, because I think it's as taboo to actually express pleasure as it is to express pain. And sometimes also it's even culturally more imprinted. I know, coming from Scandinavian culture, I think that's very repressed. I think Joe is still, you're here on the call, from an Indian culture. So they're also cultural, like personal, and then tribal that comes from our family, and then cultural. So a lot of things are playing into why we aren't used to breathe and express to the level of our sensation. Gabby, do you want to add your perspective to that, or your wording?
Yeah. So, I mean, my first session was actually February 2012. February 2012. I laid on the floor, and I don't mean just like lay down on the floor. It was set up very comfortably. And my mentor, Christopher, was walking on the backside of my body. So like on the back of my legs, my calves, and the pain level was so high. So we'll use a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is 10. I'm sorry, 1 is pleasure, 10 is pain, and 5 is neutral. If you don't like those words, 1 is comfort, 10 is discomfort, and 5 is neutral. And let's just say it was an hour session, and I stood up at the end, and he's like, so what do you notice? I'm like, I need to know everything you know. That's what I said. And he said, you're a fake. And I said, what? He said, you're a fake. And I said, I'm the realest chick you know. And he said, you laid on the floor for an hour with a pain level of a 10, and you didn't say shit. You didn't make one noise, one breath. You didn't even say, ow. And then that lets me know that you let everybody walk all over you and you don't say a word. And I felt like I got punched in the stomach at that moment. And I was like, ooh, 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 ooh. And I remember shaking my head and going, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. And I was like, okay. What do we have to do to get me real? And he's like, you got to breathe. And I was like, okay. And it sounds like, okay, you walk away. It's so easy, right? Next time he gets on me, I'm like, and then I was able to see how that showed up in my life outside of that room. Every time I was uncomfortable, I just ate it and I just watched what was going on. And I just feel my body getting more tense and more tense, right? Me getting more uncomfortable and me wanting to run out of the rooms that I was in or the conversations that I was in with people when I was uncomfortable. And I had no way of expressing it. And sure enough, after, some training, some work, some time, I started to get to a place where I could express myself. Yet because I had never expressed myself, it came out like a child. It would be like, ooh, I don't like that. Ooh, I like that. That feels bad. That feels good. Right. So it was so infantile, but that's how I was from the time I, came out the womb, was just kind of keeping everything to myself, but I made everything look really solid by being really physical and really good at everything that I did. So no one knew what was actually going on for me. Yeah. So the breath paired with the body work was kind of what opened up the dam for it to come, the words to start to come out. Right.
And I mean, I just want to say here too, that it's not like there is one method in the world that works and that's a secret sauce. Definitely when we speak about true body intelligence, like I know at least 4 systems that are part of it. And I would say Kundalini yoga is breath paired with a body, right? There's so many things in that for me, because I had done so many years before of all kind of different modalities, that when I came into the work, a lot of the layering was already taken off. Had I started 10 years before, I think that there would have been more corruption in the body. Right. So somehow here we are speaking about taking off the layers of corruption, of repression, so that we can live as our true selves, exactly the same as we say in Human Design and Gene Keys. Take off the layers of conditioning so you can move as you in the world, whether that's physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. So we are kind of speaking about one path that leads to our true self, and all the kinds of tools and modalities that can help us to decondition so that we can come back to that true expression, that true breath, that life force that's just being that vessel for life force.
And what you said is true, right? There's no one way to get there, yet there are 4 bodies, right? So I always ask myself, and I always ask my clients, my friend, what body have you been working in for a while, and what body have you not paid attention to? So meaning, if you've never gone physical, maybe it's time to go physical, right? If you've never gone emotional, maybe it's time to go emotional. If you've never gone spiritual, maybe it's time to, I mean, they're all connected in some way, and one practice usually leads to the next. Some go in through the breath work, right? And through breath, they start to go, and then that leads them to the body work. Some people from body work, then they go, that's how they get into their breath and they get into their emotion. Right. I know that I personally, if I want to, I'm not someone who's really going to sit there for a long time and breathe. So my breath work sessions are when I go for massage. Massage is different than body work. Yet when I go for massage, I go, okay, for the next 60 minutes or 90 minutes, I'm focusing on my breath. Whatever level of sensation I feel while they're touching me, I'm matching my breath to that. That's my breath work. Okay. And so there's not one way, like you said. And it's interesting, even what you said when we first got here was like, you're sponsored by Purium. And this is how aligned I feel me and you are, is that we were both started to use Purium at the same time, yet we never conversed about it. And we both ended up in Found right? We were both using the products, again, never spoke about it, but even something such as Purium, right? It's superfoods. And we were even at a place where we started to ask ourselves, well, what are we putting into our body, right? What are we feeding ourselves? How is that then feeding our gut? And how is that feeding our brain? So yeah, there's so many different avenues of getting into your body. And yeah, I wanted to circle back that's what you said when we first started. And yeah, I thought that was you know, kind of puts our relationship, the way that me and you work together, into like one sentence. It's like we're always in line with each other, yet we may not be talking about it, but we're always on the same sort of frequency and path.
Yeah, so who wants to break the silence of people that are here? I see some things are going in chat, but I would love to have voice brought in. We don't have that much time left, but I would love you to come in, and as many as possible.
I'll jump in. That last bit, Gabrielle really spoke to me. That's been my journey in the different bodies, right? The really physical, I entered in the physical. High-level sports as a child, right? Which I can look back and reflect on because I didn't have any emotional skills, right? And then leads me into my 30s where I had a complete breakdown of my body. Nobody could help me, no medicine, no, at least in the way that I was giving my power away to the establishment. And once I decided to take my power back and look at what was going in my body and totally transform that, my body started to release, which brought me then to spirituality. It opened up that world, that body for me. I had no idea, right? Brought me into spirituality. I was in that body for a while. It brought up the emotional. I still had no skills. I went into the mental. Affirmations, able to change my mindset, all of that, which brought me back around again to the emotional body, which I'm a line 1, which makes a lot of sense in all my IQ spheres, right? When looking at that, which brought me into sound healing, which really has allowed me to open up and into this emotional body and the release through sound, tuning forks. So when you talked about tuning the body, that's already something that I do in a different way with tuning forks. So that was fantastic. But I just wanted to highlight that path too, you know, for myself. And it's not a straight line. And I bounced around from different ones until I could start to integrate all of them and have a little bit of a handle. I'm not going to say I've perfected at all, but a little bit of a handle on each of those bodies on how, I don't know, like direct them or just how they express. Actually, I think that's how they express. Yeah, so that, I don't know, I just felt a real I don't know, alignment and yeah, awareness that that's happened in my own life from what you were talking about.
And thank you for sharing that. You started by, right, we asked people to communicate, right? And then you started to communicate, and the verbal process, that's you communicating to your body, right? The tuning forks and the sounds, that's another way of communicating to your body. So everything really starts with the communication to the body, right? But you have to communicate to your body. Like, you have to tune yourself up. I have to tune myself up. I can't tune you up, right? Can I help tune you up? Yes, but I can't tune you up. Everyone's responsibility, this is my, this is my belief, it's each and everybody's own responsibility to tune themselves up. That's why they say, put your mask on before you help others. Like, you got to tune, you can only tune other people up to your frequency level. So the reason why I continue to tune myself up is I'm a 5'1", I'm transpersonal, right? I'm rarely personal. I'm the most transpersonal profile. So I'm here to tune others up. Yet if I'm running around at a very low frequency, well, I'm not going to feel fulfilled on this planet. So if I keep tuning myself up, people come to me to tune themselves up, right? I'm fulfilled. But I know when I'm out of tune because my phone won't be running and my phone won't be ringing. So I'm like, oh, what am I doing? What's up? And then most likely, that's when I jump back into physical for me, because that's where my genius lies. So then I go, oh, I could see you've really been falling short on your physical. Okay, you've been playing in the other world. That's great, but go back into your genius right now. So it's like, always go home, right? Tune up the other areas, but go home. Thank you for sharing.
When you talk about your genius being in the physical, like, what do you mean precisely?
Meaning that the physical body is what I read. So I'm much better at, let's just say, communicating through physical movement. Even my form, even again, sports. I mean, you teach me something, I got it. When we go emotional or mental, it always takes me a little longer. Like, it's just not, it's unnatural for me. Where going physical is really, really natural for me. That's where my strength lies. That's even where I'm the most comfortable. So I teach that because I'm the most comfortable. I have to work at being emotional and, being expressive. Yet I really could read the body in a way that that's what I've been doing my whole entire life. I've just been reading people's bodies. What's the body saying versus what's coming out their mouth? Because that was always what put me at a distrust level with people, was that their body was telling me something else than what they were verbally saying. So at a very young age, that's what I grew up around, was my family saying one thing, yet when I was in their presence, their bodies were saying something else. And then I started to feel unsafe. Because I was like, oh, well, if the people that are closest to me aren't telling me what's really going on, nobody will. And then sure enough, that was my experience, right? I created that experience everywhere I went. So until I no longer wanted to live there.
I guess just to kind of bring something to that as well. So where it comes from is basically the meridian system. And there was this man who actually, Gabby's mentor, was working with for 7 years, and he got a lot of the system from there. And he was a Navy SEAL. He is a Navy SEALs. So he kind of upgraded it, I would say, and kind of super powered it. But the system that had to do with 16 personality types also was connected to the meridian system in the body. And then you're going to, like, when you start working with that system, you're going to have like a primary meridian, or like a primary from in the Chinese medicine, you can say, from the meridians. And these 16 personality types are divided between the bodies that Gabby was speaking about. So for me, just to kind of give you a little bit of nuance here, I am an emotional type. I'm actually a bladder type, if we speak about the meridian system. And that means that for me, my genius is emotional. So listen to this, because I have nothing in my emotional center in human design. Same thing as Gabby doesn't have. So we look at Gabby and we're like, yeah, we understand. She was flooded by emotions her whole life. Her brother is a manifester, and like whatever, like all the energy was going on in her house. She was flooded by that. Of course, it wasn't easy for her in that overwhelm to know what was hers and what wasn't hers. She doesn't even have a way of processing it, a preferred way, because her emotional center is completely open. So yes, I understand she went to the body. So what about somebody who has emotional genius like me, completely open emotional center, growing up with 2 parents that are emotional? Like, then in some way, there is a little bit of more obstacles for me to actually get to my genius. And it took me a long time to dare to feel. I have a lot of 6 lines. It was much better to be with spirit. It was much better to be my head. It was much better to be intelligence. It was much better to have A+ and everything. So I also had a way for running away from my genius. It wasn't natural for me to be there. But then as I started to decondition, yes, my Scorpio moon, everything that has to do with emotions, the deep waters, then it came through. But it took me a while to find that genius. So I believe that we all are finding our genius in a different way. And I have found this system with the meridians to be accurate. And at the same time, I think that as we are deconditioned and everything is in our blueprint, we have more than one genius. And that's just to kind of put a little bit of nuance on it. And yeah, definitely there is a book. And I would say this though, I want you to kind of also put some nuance on this, Gabby, because I know that if we were speaking with your mentor and my like, he was a client, but I worked with him then with these systems, he would not go and say, go and read that book, because he would say that those 7 years, he's also 5-1, he refined it so much, so it's not the original system. I do still believe that the book is worth reading. So Gabby, what's your take on the original system with 16 personality types and the true body intelligence work, and how that has evolved the work that was there from the beginning with the part of the work that has to do with the personality types and the geniuses? You're taking us down places here, guys.
So there's a book called The Body Keeps the Score. Some of you guys may have heard of it, right? And anytime I tell people, I was like, oh, you know, they go, oh, I'm going to go get it. I'm going to go read it. I'm like, well, you don't need to. That's the title of the book basically already told you, right? So for the people, you could even see, for the people who are mental, they're going to go, okay, I want to go read it. I want to go get more information, right? That's where my intelligence lies. And then the other people who are maybe a little bit more like physical, they're going to be like, okay, I want to get into the body work, right? So you're going to even be able to see that your body already kind of follows its genius. But going back to your question, Bella, like, I don't know actually how much it's changed, because I really didn't study. I kind of studied it backwards, so to speak, right? Like I went in again through the physical. I really understood the physical. Then I went mental. I went physical, spiritual, mental and emotional kind of came at the same time. They were kind of like wrapped up together or whatever. But then me getting to really understand the meridians was probably like the last few years. So I kind of went backwards in the way in which I worked. So I feel like I can't give you an answer to that. But what I could say is that, you know, the two bodies that me and you have been working with, between true body intelligence, human design, and gene keys, the way in which they've come together, I remember, even though I didn't necessarily understand human design, it was introduced to me the minute that bodywork was. So they have been together kind of since I was introduced to both of them. So and that's how I think me and you kind of came up with Found, was bringing those two worlds back together rather than keeping them separate, was now bringing them into the same room with each other. And that actually, if you want me to go to the meridians, that's actually what the meridian channels are designed to do, be in the same room with each other. The organs are designed, all the organs are actually in your body, right? Like in the stomach. So they're in the same place physically. Now, what happens over time is stress gets you so stuck and stagnant that these meridian channels are no longer like working the way that they're supposed to. So they either start stealing energy from different ones. So they're not communicating at their highest. Yet the work that we're doing is designed to talk to each and every organ, each and every meridian system, and then get each one of them talking and in their genius, not just alone, but then together. So it's a whole communication system. So we're coming at it from true body intelligence system, and then you're coming in with your system, so that all the systems, we have a whole universe in here, is now geared up, right, to work at their highest and at their best. And going back to the instrument, even the finest instruments tune themselves up. So we're looking to tune up everything underneath the hood, underneath our skin. And that includes the mind.
Yeah, and I would say the other part that's here has to do with life force, going back to Kundalini. So where I kind of also had a crossroads with Christopher was the Taoist approach, Mandak Shia, and the healing center in Thailand, where we're working with life force, we're working with the armoring, and we're working with the 5 elements. So that's another part that's synthesized in here. So it's very much kind of, I think all of us, we go through life and we find different things and then we synthesize that. At least I mean, I'm a 4/6, so I'm like that. And maybe if you're a 1/3, for example, you go really deep in one thing and you go there for a long time and then you jump to another thing maybe later. But for me, it's a lot what I'm doing. I go out in the world and I find things. That's why you sometimes will see me have a class or something and I put a YouTube video and people are like, well, that's not an original. Why are you using somebody else's material? Well, I don't really care. I do want to give you the book that you can read about the personality systems. I do want to introduce you to Gabrielle. I do want to speak about intimacy and sexuality and the Taoist approach and share Mantak Shia's videos with you or his practices. Like for me, the important thing is to find that combination that's going to be unique for each one of us, but to kind of give us the possibility to be in communion with the different systems and tools in order to know what's right for each one of us. So yeah, I guess the other thing with what you were saying, Gabby, as well. So I really love the way that transpersonal and personal profiles in human design was brought into True Body Intelligence, and also a simplification of the channel. So you don't need to know what the name of the channels are or exactly what they do, or if they're collective or tribal, but there is like kind of an overview. And I know that Christopher had at that time years ago, he had already looked at 7,000 charts for people that he had worked with, and that's a lot of charts. So I'm definitely, it's part of that wholesome way. And the way, going back to emotional center, the way that you would approach a person, a friend, a client that is emotional, the way you would kind of sell to them is also different than somebody who isn't emotional. So kind of knowing those basic things with strategy and authority, and how to approach somebody with respect, how to approach somebody so they can receive you, how to approach somebody, like I was saying, so all the organs, all the meridian types, all the personality types can coexist in harmony in the same room. That is super important. And I feel, that's what human design is giving us, a really big part of that understanding. So let's see who else want to ask or share, and we'll wrap up in maybe 5 minutes, but I would love to have a few more people coming in. Like, what's going around in you, in your head, in your body, in your awareness? What's alive?
I'll jump in. Sorry, the whole screen's just done a whole scatter over me. Sorry about that. Thank you for that, Gabby. That was really appreciative. I'm actually in a very physical medical world this week, so I'm having a lot of things crash into each other, so that was perfect timing. And I was one asking the questions about that. When you're talking about the breath sensation, I didn't quite know what you meant when you were being touched, or when you say going into a breath sensation. I was actually born not breathing. So me and my body have had a very interesting relationship in the 52 years I've been on the planet about breath work, and I do a lot of it. But the way you were wording that, I didn't quite understand what you meant. Are you talking about inhaling or actually having breath, or reacting? That was one of the things I was asking to get cleared when you were describing it. But the actual process we did, the attunement, was amazing for me, connecting into my body in a very simplistic way, which allowed me to actually connect into the, particularly for me, the soul level, because that is part of the issue, is my vibration can be so high, and I've got a very physical body, and I have a lot of in HD1 lines. So it's an incredibly physical in my bones experience this lifetime. But I don't think physical is my genius. I actually think it's one of the other ones, but I'm not sure. So that's where all the questions have come from. So thank you, Bella and Gabby, for this week.
Let's maybe bring Joe in, and then we can kind of answer both at the same time, Gabby. I think you unmuted, Joe, didn't you? Yeah, let's bring you in as well.
I just wanted to reflect back what has happened for me in this last hour. I came in with like pain in my upper arm, and I was doing that even the 2 hour, the 1.5 hour we were together. Like, it was And then being on that call, or even before, like I had this one, and Gabby, just that attunement to get into the body, the stillness, and then attunement, and then the breathing. This is my story in my head, right? Like, so it felt like I redirected that breath to take away that pain in ways. And I didn't feel any, I mean, since we stopped, like I didn't feel anything. And even when we were doing it, I didn't feel anything. But like I'm like super loose right now. And I think it's the magic of the breath and attunement and, you know, moving the body. I just didn't know it was happening, but just wanted to validate a shift that I have seen. So yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Yeah. So I like how you said validate a shift. And that's really what we're looking for, right? Like a shift. And whether it's through the breath, whether it's through the attunement, verbalizing, right? Your body, you may have to try on a few things before and see what your body needs in that moment. Sometimes, yeah, it will need the breath, and other times it may need the other, you know, the other work, but your body will tell you when you know how to communicate with it. Thank you. Thank you, guys. And the simplicity, which you said, Nicole, is like the simplicity of it. And I do believe, you know, going back to Bella, when you brought me in and you said the line of refinement, and really, you know, Bella and I do work together to make everything rather simple, right? Like there's a lot of tools and a lot of things that you can do, but also make it simple. And it doesn't all have to be done at once, yet it does have to be done at some point. Yeah.
Well, it seems like maybe you're going to have to come back, Gabby, because I feel like not everybody got to speak. You and I, when we kind of go back and forth, it's hard for anyone to come in and really share. So who knows if we do another call soon. Let's see. Is there anything that's important before we wrap up? Well, I guess, do you want to speak a little bit about the bundle, Gabby, before we wrap up?
I'll leave it in your hands.
So yeah, so if you want to taste a bit of this work, even virtual, Gabby and I put together like a bundle, so you can work with me one session. If you're new, of course, we can do the whole foundational thing. If you're not new, we can work where you are in your human design, gene keys, life force, all that. And with Gabby, you can either go to LA and work with her for one session, or you can do it virtually. And for any one of you that were in Found, you know that it's powerful even when it's on Zoom, because even what you could feel in those 20 minutes or 25 minutes we did with Gabby, she has such a precision. So even if you don't even see her, just her voice is so guiding, so that your body is going to start to open and connect. So if you're interested in that, you can reach out to us. For me, it's about 40% less than my usual sessions. So it kind of makes sense to get the bundle. Yeah, do you have any closing words, Gabrielle, if you want to bring in?
Well, I wanted to thank everybody for showing up and taking this time out. I know the last 3 or 4 years has really been, you know, Zooming. So for you guys to take this time out, thank you. It's also nice to see a familiar face. Hi, Agron. Nice to see you. And it's I think we should do another. I mean, not should. I would like to do another call. I really love your community and the life that it brings.
And we should do an in-person intensive in Miami, Belinda. Don't you have like a house or something we can do it in? Yeah, we should do something in person.
Yeah, and I think you covered it. Yeah, the session, if you do get the bundle, if you do a session virtually with me, you know, we talk about what's actually going on for you, bring in certain stretches that are specific to what's going on for you. It's I would say very clever. It's, you know, I've had to use the pandemic to be clever onto how to tap into the body through the screen. Yet it can still be done. So if you want to know more about the bundle, you can reach out to Bella, and you can always find me at my website, GabrielleJoyce.com.
And I will also put something on my wall and in the big Facebook group where you have, again, the information about a lot of these things. So yeah, and if you're in the inner circle, we're meeting in 15 minutes about the emotional center. So this is like a back to back for me. So I'm gonna take those 15 minutes, and thank you all for coming today, and see you soon in some other virtual room. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.